Good evening and welcome to Poland Daily. I'm Nicholas Richardson and this is the news. President Andrzej Duda undisputably won the first round of the Polish presidential election with 43.7% of the votes. In second place was the Civic Coalition candidate Rafał Trzaskowski with 30.3% of the votes. The following places were taken by the independent candidate Szymon Hołownia on 13.8% and the Confederation candidate Krzysztof Bosak on 6.7%. According to commentators, it's up to the voters of Hołownia and Bosak to decide who's going to win the second round of the elections, which will take place on the 12th of July. Voter turnout was also very high. Over 19 million Poles, that's 64.4% of Polish citizens entitled to vote, took part in the elections.
President Andrzej Duda won the first round of the Polish presidential election by a margin of 13% over his main rival. There is no doubt that the next 2 weeks will see a fierce battle for undecided voters. Yesterday evening, after the reading of the results, the incumbent president Andrzej Duda visited the city of Łowicz. Today he visited Rypin, Kwidzyn and Starogardzie Gdańskie.
Proszę Państwa,
I would like to thank everyone who trusted me and who supported me in these elections. It is very important for me. 5 years ago, I started the repair process of the Polish state after 8 years of the rule by the government that I was opposed to. In my opinion, their rule meant the dismantling of Poland, especially the smaller regions outside the big cities. The main rival to the incumbent president, Rafał Trzaskowski, visited Płock and Brodnica today. A few months ago, everything seemed to be resolved. The elections were supposed to take place on May 10th, and we were sure that President Duda was going to win without any debate, without a real election campaign, and without equal chances for every candidate. Fortunately, it turned out that there is a chance to fight, and that many people in Poland want a change. According to commentators, the behavior of those who voted for Szymon Hołownia and Krzysztof Bosak will be crucial in the second round of the Polish presidential elections. Hołownia hasn't yet decided who he is going to support. Bosak, on the other hand, said that he isn't going to support anyone. We won't support any candidate, but we will be encouraging our voters to use their civil rights and vote in the second round at peace with their consciences. It may be difficult because Hołownia did not support Trzaskowski and we don't know what he is going to do. He announced that he wants to create a social movement which would be against the current and the previous government. Secondly, many voters of Hołownia are against the Polish system and will not support anyone. And Rafał Trzaskowski is one of the representatives of that system. Rafał Trzaskowski won more votes than the incumbent president in 3 voivodeships: West Pomerania, Lubusz and Pomerania. The real question is, who is going to vote in the second round of the elections? Usually, when the voter turnout gets higher, there are nearly 2 million new voters in the second round of the elections. But we don't know what the people who did not vote in the first round will do next. Sometimes they vote in the second round just to stop someone from winning. According to yesterday's Kantar survey conducted for TVN and TVN24, President Andrzej Duda would win 45.4% of the votes and Rafał Trzaskowski 44.7% in the second round of the Polish presidential elections. 10% of voters are still undecided.
Andrzej Duda was also the election winner among the Polish community in the United States. In the largest Polish-American centres in the United States, Chicago and New York, the victory of the current president was clear. It is noteworthy that the turnout recorded in the first round of the elections in the United States was higher than 5 years ago. The second round of the elections for the Polish diaspora in the United States will be available exclusively via postal ballot. Registration ends today at midnight, local time. From Los Angeles, Małgorzata Schulz has more.
Presidential election for Poles residing or temporarily visiting United States was a big success. Many Polish citizens don't vote in elections because of the distance they have to Polish consulates here in the States. This time they took this opportunity and voted in yesterday's election. Małgorzata Schulz, especially for Poland Daily.
The United States of America and Brazil are the 2 countries which, despite signs of the situation improving, still have the highest rates of new coronavirus infections and resultant deaths. This unsettling trend is mostly present in the southern and western states of the United States, where the number of those infected is growing by the day.
Hopkins University in Baltimore reported a new high wave of infections of the SARS-CoV-2 virus in the United States. Just in the last 24 hours, a new record number of infections was noted. 45,000 people became infected across 7 states, including Florida, Georgia, Texas, Arizona, and Utah. The authorities in the south and west of the USA are thinking of postponing the planned thawing of the economy.
COVID fell out of the news. People were focusing on a lot of the demonstrations, all these other things, and I think folks just assumed, hey, maybe this is gone. It's not gone. We knew that from the beginning. It's not the way these things work. We were able to flatten the curve. We're in a much better place to be able to deal with this now, but at the same time, it's something that you got to remain vigilant over, and I think you're starting to see that more.
COVID-19 has taken a very swift and very dangerous turn in Texas over just the past few weeks. Over just the past few weeks, the daily number of cases have gone from an average of about 2,000 to more than 5,000 per day. At the same time, hospitalizations have increased from about 2,000 per day to more than 5,000 per day. And the positivity rate that just 1 month ago was at 4.27% is now well over 13%.
With a very simple message, and that is to you, to the people of Texas, we're with you, and we're going to stay with you. We're going to make sure that Texas and your healthcare system in Texas have the resources, have the supplies, have the personnel to meet this moment.
There seems to be light at the end of the tunnel for Brazil, even though in the last 24 hours there have been almost 30,500 new infections noted and 552 deaths. This data, however, points to a decreasing trend in both new infections and deaths caused by the coronavirus. Brazilians are divided between the supporters of Jair Bolsonaro, who despite the pandemic pushes for the lifting of social and economic restrictions, and those opposed to a quick return to normalcy. Protesters placed 1,000 crosses in the front of the building of the Congress, criticizing their president. We need to firmly oppose this madness which is going through our country. It is absurd that we invested so much to have democracy, and now people risk to bring back a dictator. It makes no sense. Every weekend we are fighting in the defense of our president, against the government, against the entire communist Congress. They are communists, all of them. According to Reuters, the number of infected people around the world has risen to over 10 million. The World Health Organization states that this number is twice the number of people who become sick with the flu annually.
As Russia entered the 5th day of the nationwide vote on constitutional changes, voter turnout was reported at 37.2%, according to the Russian Central Electoral Commission. Russian state opinion pollster VTS-IOM said that its exit polls showed that 6% of those who had already voted support reforms that could allow President Vladimir Putin to extend his term of office until 2036.
The nationwide vote on constitutional reforms began on June 25th and is being held over 7 days as a precaution against the coronavirus pandemic. If approved, the changes would allow Putin to run for Russia's highest office 2 more times after his current term expires in 2024. The results are roughly in line with projections ahead of the vote based on a previous poll by VTS-IOM. Yes, the option to vote online is an experiment. There are some technical issues, but the vote is week-long. I believe they will fix all technical problems by July 1st. Anyway, most voters have already voted online, so we can say that the system works rather well. Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov said he saw no problem in making preliminary results public before July 1st, when asked whether such disclosure could be considered as pressure on Russians who have yet to make that decision. I want to point out that there are almost no critical remarks to Electoral Commission members, except in circumstances when they were artificially created.
Эти замечания мы будем продолжать работать в таком же.
We will keep working in this hasteless routine mode. All Electoral Commissions work. I would not say that we have experienced no issues. There are issues, as in any family, but as families usually do when they have problems, we try not to talk about them publicly, because we would rather solve them before they become the subject of public debate.
Решаем.
The Kremlin's critics say the vote is a sham and they fear it will be rigged.
That's the news. Thank you for watching. The weather's next. Join me on Poland Daily Business and stay with us for more programmes. But from the news, it's have a good night and a better tomorrow.